Thank you very much, Power Surge. So, on to our only session before lunch, and after that there are 3. This particular session is titled Feedback from the Industry, Employability Skills Disparities in Eastern African Countries. Are we making progress? We have with us the session president. A session president is the one who gives the lead speech, and then there will be a panel discussion. The session president for this session is Grace Kaome. She's the HR and Administrative Manager at the Federation of Kenya Employers. She will be assisted on the panel by the moderator, Martin Mwebea, and there will be 4 panelists who will come up after the speech. The panelists are Susan Macau from the International School of Advertising, Cecilia Waihenya, East Africa Regional Manager for INTO University Partnerships, Mabel Malembe from Rwanda, the Kempo College, and finally Jane Gikonyo, HR practitioner and certified career analyst. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to invite Grace Kaome to make her opening speech. Welcome. An applause, please, for Madam Kaome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I believe most of you had tea, right? Yes, so you can give a better greeting. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here this afternoon to discuss a topic that is very close to our hearts as the Federation of Kenya Employers. I do not know how many of you have heard of Federation of Kenya Employers before, FKE? Good. Thank you very much. So, my name is Grace Kaome. I come from the Federation of Kenya Employers. I'm here to represent my CEO, Mrs. Jacqueline Mugo, who for some reasons, work-related, could not make it, and really had intended to be here until this morning. So, all protocols observed. We thank you for inviting us here this morning. And we look forward to conversations that will advance matters that are close to our hearts as partners and as players in the labor sector. For those who do not know much about FKE, FKE is the most representative employers body in this country. Indeed, we do employ over 70% of all Kenyans who are in the formal private sector in this country. But as you're aware, really, our country is very informal. Most of our people who are in wage employment are in the informal sector, but those that are in the formal sector, we do represent over 70% of those, and that means the employers in these bodies, who are employing those then are in our membership. And our role is really to build the capacity of employers to influence the business environment in which we operate, and how we do that is really through a lot of advocacy work, effective representation, doing a lot of social dialogue, and providing value-add services to employers. And we also represent them in other bodies like International Organization of Employers, International Labor Organization, which sets the labor standards globally, and in other bodies like the Business Africa and others, which we may not list them all. Now, the topic that we've been asked to discuss today, which is really bringing the feedback from the industry in issues of employability skills and the disparities that we do have within the East African context, and assessing whether we are making progress, is one that is very close to our hearts. And we start this by saying that really, if you look at East Africa first and foremost, we do have huge disparities, and we do have what we call a paradox. And this paradox is the fact that we do have many graduates who come out from the institutions of learning, either TVETs or universities, every year. These are people who are expected to go out and find jobs. most of them end up either unemployed or underemployed. Underemployed is a situation where you find a graduate is doing, is the watchman. You know, that person, yes, is employed, but it is not necessarily doing what they had expected to go and do in the labor market. And on the other hand, we do have a situation where employers are crying every other day, talking of skills, of vacancies that they are not able to fill because they are not getting the right skills. So we are asking ourselves, where is the challenge? And I'm happy that today I'll try and tell you some of the feedback that we have as the people in the industry, and really pointing to where we have issues and where we have challenges. If you look at the entire of East Africa, this situation replicates. Some countries are slightly better than others. Some have gotten worse over time, especially like Kenya. I think our unemployment rates are really increasing by the day. We have some countries, like I think Tanzania, which are decreasing their levels of unemployment. And so maybe there's something we could learn from them. But really close to 1 million graduates are churned into the labor market every single year. Our market, some of these people then are sent into informalities, and sometimes they are not able to close that gap, to get out of informality and to close back to the formal sector. The KNBS survey that was released this year showed that actually about 16 million Kenyans are in the informal sector, and only about 3.2 million Kenyans are in the formal sector. So that tells you there's a big challenge, but also it tells you probably there's an opportunity to create more jobs in the informal sector and to kind of formalize them to some fair levels that really would make them habitable for most of our people. Some of the things that are causing these challenges, of course, is the increased adoption of technology. So you'll find places like banks. Those of us who graduated several years back, we knew that banks would even come to institutions of learning and hire management trainees. I don't know whether that is happening anymore, but things like technology have pushed them to adopt more of technology and less of the human capital. That has happened also in the insurance industry. We also have challenges around inflation, the high costs of doing business, and so most businesses, unfortunately, have been scaling down, making it very difficult to create new employment. And this really has been a big challenge, and especially for people who are hoping to get into the labor market and to access opportunities. But it's not all lost. If you're seated here today and wondering, so the employers are saying there are no opportunities. No, there are opportunities, there is hope. The first area of opportunity I think that we have as a East African region is the young demographic that we do have. Most of our people are young, they are creative, they are innovative, and therefore they are able to create a lot, and even when they get the opportunities, really they are able to harness them. So for us as a region, that's a big advantage that we have. We have advantages that have been given to us by the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, and that is really around promotion of mobility of labor. So if you're not able to get a job in Kenya, it doesn't necessarily mean you're doomed, because you can get to Tanzania, you can get to Uganda, you can get to Rwanda and access employment opportunities. And really within East Africa also we have the common market protocols which are promoting mobility of labor. So that too is an advantage that we have. We also have issues of entrepreneurship, and we have seen quite a number of our institutions of learning getting into that and really building the skills and competencies of our students to be more entrepreneurial in nature. And those are some of the things that we can harness. But closer home, I would like to know, has any of you looked at the Daily Nation today? Who has seen the headlines of the Daily Nation? Thank you. My people here at the front row. This is the Daily Nation for today. And the headlines are courses and skills that will land you a job fast. I encourage you to interact with these. And it's the same story that is covered on page 1 and page 2. That story is coming from this report. It is a report that the Federation of Kenya Employers launched yesterday. I do have a few copies. The few lucky ones, after, when you'll be going for lunch, who will see me, I can give you a full report, a full copy of these reports. And really, this has taken the center stage of discussions in the media today. In 2018, the Federation of Kenya Employers released a skills mismatch survey report, which among other things really painted a very picture in terms of the ecosystem that we have today. Because most of our employers told us that 66% of the new job entrants were unprepared to deliver on their jobs. And therefore, employers had to spend about 6 months retraining them and making them ready for the job market. So I employ you as an accountant, you have a BCom in finance, but I have to spend up to 6 months to prepare you to be able to do the job of an accounts assistant. That was the feedback we were given in 2018. Since then, quite a number of interventions have been put in place. Yesterday, we released this report, and I'll take you through some of the feedback that we got from this. And this is a report that we did in partnership with institutions of learning. We did with Nextford University and with the ADMI, Africa Digital Media Institute. And some of the feedback that came from this survey is that we do have some top careers that employers are looking for. So first and foremost, especially if you're a student, are you in careers that employers are seeking, to fill? Are you in jobs that employers are looking for? And the top ones that employers in this survey told us they'll be seeking careers in, or they'll be filling jobs in, is careers in finance, careers in business management, careers in engineering, in transport, in distribution, and in logistic fields. Those are the ones that came up top from what employers are looking for. Employers, 20% of our employers also told us they have actually struggled to fill 20% of some positions. They have difficulties in filling some positions. And most of those are in areas of services, surprisingly, scientific areas, technical areas, mining, quarrying. Some of those you'd understand. But accommodation, why would we struggle? Why would we struggle to fill positions in food and service sectors? Some of them, they do not actually require much. They only are looking for diplomas and degrees, first degrees, not even second degrees. Why is it that they are struggling to fill? Because sometimes people have a paper, but the competencies are missing. You do have a BCom in finance, but when I tell you, please do for me a balance sheet, you go blank. That is a big struggle. We hope we can deal with some of those challenges. Employers told us that they have a higher demand for employees with just undergraduate diplomas and technical vocational education training diplomas. So that tells you, yes, it's good to have a master's, yes, it's good to have a PhD, but that's not a prerequisite for the employers to employ you. First degree is good enough, but let it be packed, let it be one that has good foundations, that has good ownership of the contents of the courses that people have been taken through. And the top, in terms of TVETs, the top 5 TVET skills that they say they're looking for is transport, logistics, electrical works, building and construction, agriculture, and hospitality. Soft skills came up very key in this report. In fact, 49% of the employers said they are struggling with communication, that most of the graduates who are coming in are not able to communicate. And I don't think it's a factor of they cannot say hi. It is how they interact. It is the quality of their writing. Can they write an email? Can they interact with colleagues? Or are they always plugging in their earphones and nothing else within their environment matters? So soft skills is very key. So even within the contents of the courses that people are being taken through, it's important to build in the relation aspects, the social skills. Employers are doing a good job in terms of really skilling, upskilling, and reskilling, and about 73% really are making investments in this area. So it does not mean that if you go to a work environment, you'll just be expected to take off. Employers also are prepared to help you, but please do have what is required. ICT competence came out very clearly, that it's important for everyone, regardless of career they are in, to have these. And it cuts across things like being able to use digital platforms, issues of AI, issues of robotics, and those are very key for every professional, whether you're an engineer or a human resource professional like myself. Emerging economies are taking shape, the green economy, being aware of what is green and what we need to do to keep our environment green, and professionals in that area are also required. We've talked about other emerging economies like the solar techniques and all that. Then we still continue to experience some skills deficits, which unfortunately impacts the businesses which do exist for profits and all. So if you're skilled, then you're considered as a value add to an organization, and when it's time to let people go, if you're that value adding person, then chances are you'll be left or retained. So what are some of the challenges that employers are facing, or struggles that employers have? And this is our playback again to you from the industry. One, employers are basically looking for a good mix of technical and soft skills. It's not enough to just have one. It's not good enough for you just to be a techie and you don't care about people's skills. It's also not enough for you to have all the people skills and you lack grounds on the technical skills. We are looking for a good mix. We are looking for multi-skilled employees, employees who can be able to do more than just one thing. If you're a HR professional, but also who can train, who can also probably take part in project management, that then adds value to our entities. We are looking for people who are productive. We are looking for people who bring in, give us a competitive edge, and who provide value addition through innovations and through the creative ideas that they bring on board. We are looking for culture fit. We are looking for people who are ethical. We are looking for people who can be trusted with our businesses. That, if you have, then you're likely to go far. What as FKE are we doing to ensure that we really help to address some of these gaps? Having forums like these is important for us because we are able to play back to you on the challenges that the employers are facing. We do have specific programs. One is a program that we look at girls in STEM subjects. We are focusing on our girls, it's at foundation levels, girls in primary schools, girls in high schools, and encouraging them to get into technical subjects of sciences, technology, mathematics, engineering, and such, and building them and working with them and empowering them through mentorship, so that then we will have a future that is bright. We have programs like our Female Future Women Leadership Program. That's a program that seeks to build the capacity of women to get into leadership and management, and especially into boards, and be able to make decisions that are good for companies that they represent. We have TVET programs where we work together, especially with TVET institutions, to help them review their curriculums, to make them market relevant, to make them adaptive to the technologies that employers are looking for. And that way then it's our way of giving back to the communities. We do have various capacity and building and training programs for our employers. We do have consulting programs and help with recruitment services. So we do try and bridge the gap between people who are looking for jobs and employers who are seeking to fill vacancies. Conducting surveys and research like what we've done helps to really inform the market on what's going on various subjects on employment and labor issues. And we do really stand in the gap as advocates to look at issues of employment and employ for things that really the government needs to focus on. We sit at the table where decisions are made, and so we are able to put in a voice, especially at this time we have issues around, the employability of the TVET students, for example. So putting in a voice for that. If it's for the graduates, we have issues around probably financing of their help and all that. So we are able to really advocate on issues that matter to advance skills. We run quite a number of projects, and I'd only like to speak about one project that we run, which is a project around mainstreaming of persons with disability within our workplaces. If as a Federation of Kenya Employers, we do not talk about this, then we do not know who will speak for the persons with disability. So what we do is we bring our employers together, we sensitize them on the need and the value of bringing persons with disability into their workplaces, the value of diversity and inclusion within their places of work, the benefits they can get, and the value additions, even from a tax perspective, they are likely to get by having these persons in their workplaces. And through that, then we are able to really promote employability of persons with disability. And therefore, we also reward those who go that extra mile to implement the best practices through our Employer of Year programs. What recommendations would we give as FKE moving forward? Given what we have seen, given what we've heard from our employers, our recommendation first and foremost is really to promote and to offer demand-driven trainings. If you're in an institution of learning, please do not just offer trainings because you have a nice program that you've been offering since 1975. Offer a training because there is demand for it. Use the data that we have provided. Use the data from other research bodies that have been provided on the needs that employers have, and do offer those trainings, because that way then the graduates or the people who get out of the institutions will be able to get placement. We encourage collaboration or collaborative approaches and partnerships. Institutions of learning cannot do this alone. I like our previous speaker who talked about stakeholders getting involved in really helping our students to get the very best. There are technologies we use, and we really got surprised sometimes back where we had students who finished a course and they went to the institution. Can you imagine if you've done mechanical engineering using cars of 19-something, and today you go and you're supposed to repair a car that is electrical. So if you've not used the very recent technologies, the very recent machineries that are present in the workplaces, you'll not be able to go far. So it's only collaboration that can take us there, because institutions of learning may not necessarily be able to buy all these new technologies. But with collaboration, the students can come to our industries and really get to experience what is real, what is current. We really challenge you to embrace technology, regardless of whichever sector you're in or career that you're in. That way then you'll be able to fit in well within the workplaces that we have. From our side, ours is more from a policy perspective, to ensure that the policies that are being put in place are responsive to the needs that you also have, and are responsive to the needs of the labor market. All stakeholders need to invest in emerging economies and emerging sectors. And that way then, that's the only way we'll be able to create jobs, that will be able to have sustainable jobs. It's not just about jobs, but also looking at the sustainability aspects, even from an environmental perspective. Soft skills are very key. Please have good levels of self-awareness. Ensure that you can communicate well. If you're going to look for a job, ensure you have the basics that are required. You have your CV, you have your cover letter, you know how to present yourself in an interview. If you get that job, that you can be able to relate well with people within that enterprise, you can be able to play, in a team and all that. That really is an area that we cannot overemphasize, and it's very key for us as employers. Entrepreneurship is very critical, because not everyone, unfortunately, will be able to get jobs within the sectors or the employers that we have. But if you have entrepreneurial skills, you can be able to do something. But it also goes further. Even if you get a job with an employer, there is something that we call entrepreneurship within jobs. If you've been very keen and you've seen companies, for example, like Safaricom, that release new products and new services every other day, you may want to ask yourself, how do they do that? They only do that by harnessing the creativity, the innovation, and entrepreneurial skills of the people that they have there. People who come in and say, look, I have this new idea. What if we create a product that answers the needs of our people in this and that way. And that way then, that skills becomes very important even if you're employed. So entrepreneurship is not simply about going out and creating your own job or employing yourself. It's also about being creative even within the spaces of employment that you find yourself in, and being able to create and add value to those employers. So I think that's really what we'd like to give as a playback from the industry. Is it all lost? No. Have we made progress? Yes, we have made progress. Is there more we can do? Yes. How? Through collaboration. Thank you very much, and we look forward to being part of these engagements moving forward.
Thank you very much, Grace. We appreciate your comments. As students, was that useful? Yeah? I thought so too. I wish I could go back to school. Maybe I will. We're going to have a session. We're going to have panelists come forward. And more importantly, we're going to invite questions from the floor. So as they go through their session, and also taking feedback from what Grace Kaome has talked to us about, please prepare your thoughts and minds around questions to give to us, the panel. Is that okay? One of the things I find very difficult as a moderator or as a MC or as a leader of government or as just a leader in the private sector here and internationally is when I'm back in Africa, I do not get students asking questions. I want you guys to be the first to actually shock me and ask questions. Mostly you keep quiet. Okay? So that's a challenge to you. Let me now invite our panelists. The first is Susan Macau, my good friend and classmate from the International School of Advertising. Karibu, Susan. Susan and I grew up together in Loresho and went to university in Kenya, so we know each other. She's a dynamic lady in that space of advertising. I'd also like to invite my new friend from Rwanda, Mabel Mirembe. Mabel, is she here? Welcome, Mabel. A round of applause for my beautiful ladies. We also have a new friend, Jane Gikonyo, HR practitioner and certified career analyst. Jane? Is Jane here? Yep. Welcome. It's a lady-led team, as you can see. But I don't know if Madam Cecilia Waihenya is here. Oh, yes, she is. Hi, Cecilia. Again, please, a round of applause for the panelists. And because it's never politically correct to not have the other gender, gentlemen, are you feeling some sort of way? We have Martin Mwebea from ACCA, the Association of Chartered Accountants of Kenya, and he is the Education Support Manager. Karibu Martin, who will be looking after the 5 ladies on the panel. So remember, students, delegates, there will be a Q&A session at the end, so do have your questions ready. And remember, Archie thinks Kenyan students don't ask questions. So let's see. Karibu Martin. Do you want the mic? Or you'll do it on stage?
Distinguished guests, students from different universities and institutions, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I can hear your voice from here. Good afternoon. Fantastic. So my name is Martin Mwebea, as rightly introduced. I work as Education Support Manager at the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants. We are the global body for professional accountants. In my role, I support over 500,000 ACCA students to pursue their qualification and make preparations for their careers. So careers and employability is very close to my heart, and I'm very pleased to be moderating this session with this amazing team of panelists for the day. So this session is going to run in this format. I'll give a minute to the panelists to introduce themselves. And as you do, because this is about careers, as you tell us your title, please tell us what your job entails and tell us what you enjoy most about that role. So you'll have a minute for that. We'll have a few questions that I'll field to the panelists. And then I'll take questions from the audience. So please prepare your questions. You'll have a chance to ask the questions that are pertinent to you and things that you'd like answers in this summit. After that, we'll also give another minute for the panelists to share their closing remarks, and then we'll call it a day, and then we'll go for lunch. I don't know what bit of that excites you, but I know which one excites me. So straight on, do we have the mics ready? Fantastic. I'll begin from the farthest end with Madame Cecilia. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Great. So my name is Cecilia Waihenya. My background has heavily been in higher education, and especially in career services and employability. I currently work for an organization called Into University Partnerships, INTO. And what we do is that we support the internationalization of universities in the UK, the US, and Australia. And so I serve as the East Africa manager, and pretty much what I do is support. I'm like the international recruitment department of that university locally. And we work with agents, we work with universities like Manchester, Newcastle, Lancaster, and many others in the US and Australia. What I previously worked in USIU as the head of placement and career services, a job I highly enjoyed. My current role, what do I enjoy most? The travel sometimes. Yeah, just meeting new people, new cultures, but also just working with young people and seeing the impact of my work on an individual life, supporting someone's dreams. I think that makes my day. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, please.
Is it afternoon or morning?
Afternoon.
It's afternoon, okay. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Susan Macau. My background, many years ago, I studied education, and I also studied business and economics. In the business section, I specialized in marketing. I actually wanted to get into the Central Bank of Kenya, but I was not shortlisted. Remember, they used to come to the universities and select people, so I missed my mark, but ended up in marketing, which I actually realized was my passion. And for many years, I was in the marketing field. I grew up climbed up the ladder, and eventually was leading one of the, the biggest advertising agencies here in Kenya. And while there, one of the biggest frustrations that we had was actually onboarding, young people coming in from the universities. And we ended up developing a training program, not just with the organization I was working with, but as an association. So I ended up sitting in the training committee of the Advertising Practitioners Association, and we created what we called the Advertising Foundation course, which was really a 3-month to 6-month program, depending on, we just sort of took you through, it's like a management training program, but it took you through a 360 understanding of what happens in the space of marketing, digital marketing, advertising. So while there, because I was volunteering and etc., but I really enjoyed myself, so decided actually to just step out and do this on a regular basis. So together with a few other industry partners, we founded the International School of Advertising. And so our main mandate is to help transition young people such as yourselves through a program that helps to basically bridge the gap and enable you get the practical understanding of what you're actually going to do. And it comes together with an apprenticeship so that you also get the opportunity to learn and work. And actually it's a paid apprenticeship, so you get to actually learn and earn. I heard Philip say that at the beginning. But also we are upskilling those who are already in practice, because there's also a lot of changes going on in the marketing and advertising field, and so we are also upskilling. So I think for me, the thing I really enjoy is first of all just being in spaces like this and being able to talk to, you know, the future leaders and being able to get an opportunity to understand you, because a lot of the things which even just the lady from FKE said, you know, sometimes I think we have to go back and ask why. Why do we have this problem? Why, you know, maybe it's not even a problem. You know, let's just find out the why. So when we understand the why, then it helps us also structure what it is that we are trying to offer you in a way that is relevant. So it's doing that and then being able, and then the opportunity to see you eventually when you go into the marketplace. You get into a job or you get into self-employment and you thrive. And I love to see the people who go through the program come back and actually mentor or train young, you know, those of you who would still be in campus, and just pass it forward. And I think for me that's what I enjoy most.
Thank
Thanks.
you so much, Suzanne. Mabel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mwiriweneza. That's how we greet in Rwanda. So I bring to you greetings from Rwanda, the Count of Thousand Hills, and I'm glad to be part of this panel this afternoon. So I work as a career manager in Kepler, and we have the competence-based curriculum. And in our office, or in my office, I do more of training students on how they can market their technical skills. We empower them, or we keep them with the soft skills. You can be having technical skills, but you don't know how to sell them out. So we train, we coach you. We make sure that you're outstanding at the labor market, that you are convincing, that you are the person the companies or the industry is looking for. That one involves the mock interviews or interview preparations. It involves of composing the most appealing application files of resume and cover letter. And it involves more of like public speaking skills, knowing what to speak, knowing what to deliver. The former speakers mentioned of the gap in like people looking for those people who can speak, who can deliver at the end of the day. So we do more of coaching, of mentoring, of polishing, of making sure that you are the product the world is looking for. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Jay.
If I was to wake up every day, I would wake up to do what I love. And what I love is telling people that their dreams are valid, and especially the very young people. There's a lot of script in the market that says there are no opportunities. You cannot get this done. You don't have this done. But I love to tell the young people that there's so much you can do with a renewed mindset, with forums like this, with looking for mentors and such. I'm a HR practitioner. I've been doing HR for many years. I'm a certified HR analyst, so what do I do? Because I love young people and I love them to do what they love to do, I work with people to discover who they are, what are their passion, what are their interests, and what kind of impact do they want to make. So I do a lot of that. I hang out with young people because I've gone ahead of them. I believe I have a few failures that I've made. I have a few successes or massive successes, and I believe as we share these lessons, one of two people are able to navigate their journeys better. Besides that, I've discovered a new career called mediation. So I recently certified as a mediator in the High Court. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer, and I realized my dreams are still valid to bring, to add value to conflict resolution. So you'll find me sometimes walking down the court annex and resolving issues with people. And like one of the panelists said, we're in a very diversified world, very agile. It's always good to see what else can I do and what else was I born to do. So I'm excited to be here and looking forward to the discussions this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you very much. Seems like we share quite a lot with you. As I said earlier, my name is Grace Kaome. Maybe I can put in my title as CHRP Grace Kaome, that is Certified HR Professional. I'm also a certified mediator. I have been in the HR space for about 16 years now. So really, I've worked in quite a number of companies. I've worked for Kenya Power, I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the NGO world, and now working for FKE. My job at FKE really involves building the talents that we have at the Federation, because we are there to serve quite a number of employers. So I have a team of very experienced people. So my staff are lawyers, are industrial relations practitioners, are managers. I mean, they are all people who know it, they are professionals in their space, and really I'm humbled to be able to walk the journey in terms of ensuring that they have what it takes to serve over 5,000 employers in this country. What I enjoy most about my job is really skills development, I would say. The ability to build people, the ability to work with people, to bridge whatever the gap they have, and to become better. I enjoy mentorship programs. I do a lot of work in skills development, working a lot with institutions. I enjoy reviewing curriculums. I enjoy really being able to be part of a solution as opposed to complaining. So even when we raise these issues as employers, we're not pointing a finger. We're saying we want to be part of the solution, and here are some of us who are willing to walk the journey to be part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Clearly you can see the skills and the amount of skill that we have in the panel today. So we'll move straight into the substance of the matter. I'll begin with you, Jane. And so off the back of the report by FKE, 66% of new job entrants are unprepared. I can't think of any bigger nightmare for a student than preparing for all those years only to find that your skills are not relevant at the workplace. So could you share with us what specific skills are currently in demand and how those needs are changing for organizations? Being in the HR, as a HR, you're at the center of the organization and the workforce.
Okay. Thank you for that question. And I'd like to affirm the statistics that have been given by FKE survey, that indeed the work environment and the terrain for work has changed. So you'll find that a lot of the careers that made a lot of sense in the last maybe 10 years are going to be so much different in the next 7 years. I mean, in 2030, a lot of the careers will be different. But what is it that you do differently? Because probably you're already doing a career and you're wondering, so what is this narrative driving to? What am I going to do differently? So I'll suggest a few things. And as the FKE has suggested, there are critical competencies that you must start working on now. The future is now. I know we keep saying about the future to come, but the future is now. What are the skills you need? You realize that 49% of employers are looking for the softer skills. A lot of work is getting automated, but I want to work with people who have other different softer skills, and I'll pick just like 3, for instance. There was a mention about communication. We have young grads coming to the market, and they can barely tell us, what is your value proposition? Even, why should I give you this job? As simple as that. And you're in an interview, but you cannot answer that. So my recommendation is that start working on your communication skills and positioning and seeing how can I position my value to an employer. The second thing, people are looking for people who can create solutions to various problems. It doesn't start when you come to the workplace. I believe you're in an institution where there's a lot of work going on, teamwork, and a lot of that. Build those skills. Be a problem solver and see how you can do that. Another skill is collaboration. I mean, one of the things that is changing in the workplace that we now work remotely. There are many different ways of working. So the idea that you can work with teams that are cross-boundary or teams in different places, how collaborative are you, and what are those skills that you're building around that? Issues about emotional intelligence. How do you work with people? I mean, people are looking for people to work with.
when the skills are being automated, when a lot of jobs are being automated, some of the skills that you need for the future is about customer experience, relationship building, business development and all that. So how good are you in managing people, yourself especially, and all that? We talked about entrepreneurship and many other skills. But don't forget, the world is becoming digital. I mean, when I studied HR many years back, it has changed. And now anybody looking for a HR is looking for different skills. They want somebody who is analytical, somebody who can do HR analytics, somebody who can be able to use numbers to be able to say, this is the tangible value of the people initiatives you're driving in an organization. But if you don't have these skills, what's the hope? I would suggest that scan the market, look for mentors. I know you have a career office. Have these conversations in terms of what is changing so that you start building the skills in readiness for the future. Look for mentors. Here you have a panel of very qualified people. I'm sure you have many other people in your communities that can tell you what can you do differently so that you're ready for the future. What we're saying today, next week things are changing, technology is changing. How do you constantly learn? There's a lot of information out there. There are a lot of online courses. Keep learning, keep scanning the market and keep learning. And I'm sure by the time you're ready to come to the marketplace, people will be looking for you because then you have what they're looking for. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So, the training institutions, Mabel, Susan, and Cecilia, you are preparing these young people for the workplace. Jane has mentioned about the changes and how those needs are changing. So I want to throw this question to the three of you. In terms of your programs, how are you adapting your programs to align with the current and future employability needs?
Yeah, thank you so much for the good question. So our programs are more relevant to what the industry is looking for in terms of conducting the career fair events that gives a platform to our students to interact with employers. And every year we bring like in a range of 50 to 100 employers in the room for our students to interact. And from that interaction, they also have this opportunity to sell their skills. They talk of what they can, the ability to perform, what are you able to perform. And from there, the employers are interested. And also, they get to hear from the employers what is required at the labor market. Or is it that what I'm learning or what I'm studying is relevant to what my career goal is? Let's say if you are taking communication, what is the communication sector is looking for in a student that is taking Bachelor of Communication? Then from there, our students keep updating their skills, keep learning. They learn from different sectors, from external and even within the school. We also have the information sessions. We make sure that we bring the practitioners from outside and come speak to our students so that our students are always informed of what is going on, what is required from the HRs, what are HR looking for. So from there, they get the knowledge, they are challenged. Yes, maybe I have reached this level, but I have to stretch myself and get to another level that a recruiter is looking for. We also have the career choice model. We make sure that our students undergo the career choice. One, they get to know their interests, they get to know their abilities, they get to know what the labor market is looking for. From what you are interested in and from what you are capable of doing, is it relevant to the labor market? I know it has been a challenge in some of the universities that it is a career choice. They just take it a week, or they take it in a session like this and end there. But we take it more further in doing it as a course and they are also assessed around it. Are you able to reflect on what you can and what you cannot? Are you able to connect your abilities with what is required? We also give them a room to go to the labor market and do the job shadowing. They do the job shadowing. They learn from the experts. They take a day and learn and gain the on-hands experience. They get it out of the class, the comfort zone of the class, but they reach at the most challenging platform where the employers are looking for, like, they want you to deliver. They want you to deliver at the end of the day. We also have the job readiness model. The job readiness, how it works, our students take 5 weeks training of job readiness. We train them on how they can network. We teach you a professional network. We know network, everyone can say, I'm capable of networking, but how professionally do you do it? We train you. We make sure that you can be able to write an email. You can follow up. You can seek constructive feedback. You can write a most appealing application files. What are you able to be relevant to the job descriptions, to the adverts that are out on daily basis? Or you just apply? Because I remember when I was out of university, I was badly looking for the job. So I could even throw my resume where it is not needed. But here we train you to be relevant. Are your skills, are your education relevant to the job that is being advertised? So that you don't get frustrated at the end of the day. You don't apply on 30 positions and you're not hired. And that one helps us to always achieve the 90% of our graduates getting employment within 6 months of graduation.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Susan.
Thanks. So just building on what has been said, which is extremely important, I would say that the other thing that we need to recognize is let's not think about always waiting to get a job. Start thinking about how you yourself can be the one who creates a job for yourself. And why do I say this? I mean, we know post-COVID, the digital transformation was so huge. Life changed. You know, now we are schooling online, we are working online, we are shopping online, we are entertaining online. So we are in a disposition where the consumer has changed so much, we may as well find them also on the online space. So what does this mean? In terms of what we are trying to offer, first of all, our approach is to work with industry to develop the program. So it's by industry for industry. But in addition to that, what now I'm finding is very, very key is tapping into that opportunity of the gig economy, all right? You know, numbers are showing that by the end of 2023, the value of the gig economy will be about $350 million. And in Kenya, it will have created about 100,000 jobs. So how can you take advantage of this? So you can make it a mainstream, or you can also make it your side hustle, so to speak, okay? Now, what does this mean again now for what I'm seeing with a graduate who comes out in maybe 2 years, you still don't have a job, and then you go and start a business. You go and start selling shoes on Facebook, or you go and start buying mitumba and, you know, start selling it. You can now really professionalize that by getting into proper the gig economy training, because that allows you to make sure you operationalize your business properly, you are managing your costs, and then it gives you access to market. Now, when we're doing this, it becomes very important that the quality of what you're offering is very important. As we were told through the FKE report, when you are let's say now you've even developed your competence, and let's say you're a social media manager. When you're having that conversation online with a potential customer, How are you communicating? Are you communicating in proper English? Are you delivering at the time you said you're going to deliver? And remember that you're competing with a global landscape. Yeah, so you're competing with people from other markets who probably have quite a high standard. So it is very important that you make sure that you have that standard that is global. And that's the good thing about the digital, rather the gig economy, is when you are training, and that's what we're trying to do, is really ensure that you are at global level. I liked what the Vice Chancellor said about even partnering with Austria and I think it was Texas, some universities in Texas, just to ensure that the quality of what we are offering is world class. And I think that's really what we are trying to do, while at the same time giving you the practical space where you can apply it and really transition properly into the workspace.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Cecilia.
You can hear me now. I think I'll take a different approach and dissociate myself from the HEAIs and look at it in terms of what institutions actually need to be doing. Maybe a quick checklist, putting together everything that my colleagues have said, and for us as higher education institutions to look at the initiatives that we have and ask ourselves, are we really adapting to what our students or what this workforce actually needs? If you think about Kenya, we have about 500,000 plus students going into university every year. That's scary, at least for me. And 10% of those graduating. So we have an influx of employable, I believe they're employable, we just need to, to figure out where. And I think one of the things is institutions beginning with the end in mind, right? And so even as you're building your programs, is your curriculum in line with what the industry is looking for? But how do you do that? You have career advisory boards. You have formalized, structured programs to engage with industry so that you can sit at a round table and tell them, hey, we are thinking about launching this new program. Does it make sense? Does it meet your needs? Will it be relevant by the time these guys graduate in 5 years or so? Isn't it? Because we're seeing that now the turnover for skills is 5 years, isn't it? So in 5 years, your skills might actually become redundant if you're not careful. So that's one of the things, curriculum alignment with industry standards. So making sure, and the Office of Career Services, because I know a lot of them are here, they play a key role in this. In fact, they should be at the table as the drivers for these conversations. I know these conversations are driven by the quality assurance departments in universities, but the Office of Career Services, armed with the support from industry, should be on that table. The other thing is career services enhancement. I believe career services is not the wrapping on the sweet, and anyone who's heard me has heard me say that a lot. Career services doesn't come at the tail end of higher education. It should come from the beginning. It should start at the beginning. From when these students, prospective students, are thinking through courses to pick, programs to choose, those conversations should be entrenched there. So not forcing students to fit into a certain box. Now again, we also have to find a balance because we can't tell everybody, AI is big, pick this, do data science. You know, we still have to find a balance between what are this person's innate strengths and skills and where will they thrive? Because once you find out where you'll thrive, you'll be fine. So beginning those conversations at the beginning and supporting our students with different services through the career services offices. And I know from 2018, when the Ministry of Education established the Office of Career Services, private institutions are not the only ones who have working Office of Career Services. And so that's really an improvement. Looking at micro credentials and micro certificates, we can't just rely on one degree for 4 years. You have a lot of time to pick up skills here and there. You know, how do we support our young people to think about how can I maximize the time that I have while in campus to also pick up other skills, other certifications, like mediation. This is something that young people can do. You know, and other protocol certifications, for example, for international relations students. Small courses here and there for psychology students that impact on their day-to-day operation. Yeah? So those are some of the things we can think about. Also thinking about exposing our students to global learning opportunities. Because now the world has become a global village. Are we actually ensuring that our students are competitive in the job market? Or are they graduating, having been trained with a lot of theory, a bit of exposure here and there, but not able to compete globally? The last one would be just providing opportunities for experiential learning. Are we doing that for our students? And on the side of employers, are we actively, intentionally creating opportunities for young people to come and be engaged in a way that they can grow and learn?
Thank you so much. Lots of things to say, very little time. So I'm going to take a few questions from the audience. After this last question, there will be a mic coming around, so please be on standby for that. I want to come to Madam Grace from a policy perspective, because I think policy is the backbone of all these things that we're talking about. And the policies obviously need to be adjusted as we move with the changes. There has to be a lot of collaboration happening. So could you tell us briefly how this, in what ways these policies can be adjusted, and how are you collaborating with the industry to understand, the changing needs of the workforce?
Great, thank you very much. So actually the industry is quite alive. In fact, the industry has been waiting for these conversations because we are the people who suffer. When we are struggling to fill a position for 3, 4, 5 months, we are wasting time. And that means our productivity is going down, our revenues are going down, our profits are going down. So what policies are being worked on? We are working hand in hand with the government. Right now, there's a policy on dual training that is actually being worked on. Basically, what that what that policy will do is really bring home. We've been doing internships, attachments, but in a very hazy manner, in a way that it hasn't been quite intentional. It hasn't been quite impact and results driven. So what will happen is really it will create opportunities for more industry learning. So these students will not only learn in the classroom, but they will have adequate time to learn from the industry, a supervised program that is very results driven. Some of the other programs, policies, we have policies on apprenticeship that are being worked on. So again, we are working with the government to put those in place. A lot of it really is encouraging practical trainings. And really from the perspective of employers, they are willing to open their doors. I think that's what I can say at the bottom line. They are willing to open their doors, but also they are looking for people who are serious. A lot of these have to be initiated by the institutions of learning. It will be very difficult for Coca-Cola to come and knock the doors of Catholic University and say, hey, can we collaborate? But if Catholic University knocks the doors of Coca-Cola, it is easier for Coca-Cola to say, okay, fine, these are the areas that we have. Which areas would you like us to collaborate in? This is what we look for. And therefore, how can we help to impact that in your graduates? So we are encouraging institutions to knock the doors, to have MOUs with these industries, to these companies, and that way then we will work together and will be the solutions that we need. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. A round of applause to the panelists, please. I'm informed it's time for lunch, but I still want to squeeze a question or two from the audience. So anyone with a burning question? I saw these 2 hands up first. So please keep your question brief, and then we'll get quick responses from the panel.
Hello everyone. My name is Michael Timona. I'm a student at Tangaza University College, and I've also served there as a Students Association president. I believe the panel discussion is very insightful. However, I tend to feel like the panel discussion is a journey. It's a roadmap. But the reality on ground is that things are not the same way as you put it on the panel discussion. Allow me to give a practical example. Myself being a student leader, I observe that in our institution we have a lot of needy students. And with this, being a student leader, you need to bridge the gap to make sure that these students have food, and also you try your best to see if you can get funding for even something like school fees. We also have students with disability in the same learning environment. However, let me speed up my question is this. When you go to corporates, when you go to these big organizations, telling them that you have this and this gap, even if you write a proposal and concept notes, the reality is on ground, as long as it's you're a young person, as much as you have motive, you're giving the world-class ambition that you just told us about. These corporates tend to shy away from young people. How can we bridge that gap? How can we young people get this opportunity to shine, to flourish, and to address the social issues and barriers that we have in the current nation? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Quick question there on bridging the gap with young people. Let's take the second question.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Ken Jage from Chuka University, and I have 3 questions, please. The first question.
Sorry, we'll only allow you to ask one, so please prioritize your questions, but we can give another person a chance to ask questions. Thank you.
All right. We've earned employers giving around 2 plus experience, work experience, and now we're having fresh graduates graduating from school. So where does they fit them? Because now almost every employer wants 2 or 3 experience.
Thank you so much. Quick question on requirement on work experience, especially for fresh graduates. There's a question there.
Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Steven Nyakero Diambo from Kirinyaga University, student leader. So I have 2 questions, but because of time, I will just ask one. Yeah, to the FKE and also to the HR. Actually, they are talk of ethical issues, but sometimes young graduates get it hard because it is employers who sometimes become unethical. In the 21st century, it has become the world of what do you have in pocket? Do you have connections? So sometimes us as the young graduates, we are very ethical, but on the other side, it becomes a question of how much do you have, whom do you know in this industry or in this society? Now, my question is this, what is the role of FKE and also the role of HR to ensure that our employers become very ethical? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Allow me to request the panelists to, okay, we'll take your question last and then the panelists can respond to those.
Thank you very much. I'm Evelyn Kanywa from Ajira Digital Program. Mine is actually a build-up on the bridging of the gap. I would really like to get from the practitioners and the policymakers on the element of inclusion and how we are coming up with programs that are not just looking at the people that are very able, especially those that are in the urban areas, but then we are ensuring that we are leaving no one behind by ensuring that the programs are very inclusive. They are bridging the rural-urban, or for example, the digital divide. You are also looking at other marginalized groups like the young women, the refugees, and people with disability, so that you are not just talking from the panel, but these are things that are happening on the ground. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we've had the questions. I'll leave it open to anyone who would feel comfortable with any question, but there's one directed directly to FKE, so maybe we can begin with that one quickly in a few seconds.
Great, thanks. So the quick question to FKE is, how are we assuring that employers are ethical? Indeed, it's an elephant in the room, and we've seen some things going around. What I will tell you is that, they say in every market there's always a mad person. So, but what I'll tell you is credible employers most times will be ethical. It's very difficult to find employers, and especially who are fully registered, probably within the membership of FKE, doing that. But you'll find there are many other people even posed to be employers, unfortunately, and sending out even adverts asking for money, for medicals and all that. Most times when you see that, please just take off. When you see someone asking you for money and they've not even given you a job, those are not credible people. If they are credible enough, let them give you the job, and they can, if it's a fee, it can always be recovered later. So find ways of really knowing who are credible employers, who are not. But for those who are in our membership, what we do is we really do have programs that we take them through on issues of ethics, issues of corporate governance, issues of really how to run their businesses without corruption, without all those needs for bribes and all. So that's what I would say is what really we do. I'll also just quickly answer the question on inclusion, which is very key. I think in my presentation I talked about inclusion of persons with disability and our work around championing for mainstreaming of persons with disability. That said, we also do a lot of work with the refugees, trying to ensure that even the youths who are in those marginalized areas are not being left behind. Currently, we are running programs. I think you've heard a program called the Recognition of Prior Learning, RPL, basically which is looking at refugees specifically and other marginalized groups, people who probably took off from their countries and have skills but don't necessarily have skills, certificates to show. So they're able to be assessed for their skills, and with that we can help them get placements within the employers that we have. So there are quite a number of initiatives. Of course, because of time, we may not be able to speak about all of them, but for us, from where we speak, everyone who deserves a chance should be given a chance, and we are able to, and we are willing to do everything possible to look at our policies and to ensure that this country does not marginalize or push away anyone. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Jane, there was a question around experience.
Okay.
So where do you need the students to get experience from as HR when you're asking them for 2 years of experience and they're just fresh from campus?
Thank you for that question. It's one question that gets asked many times. Where do you expect us to get experience when you advertise for roles and you're asking for many years of experience? The first thing I would say that in an organization, there are structures of how work is done, and work is done at different levels. So you'll find that unless you're looking for a manager level and you've just finished university, you'll find that if we are asking for an entry level, they'll be asking for 0 to 1 years of experience. And that is a role that any entry person from university can get. Another way that you would position yourself in terms of experience is about internship and volunteering work. Anything that you do out here, for example, somebody said is a leader and all that. Any experience that you gain, you can package it in terms of what is the competence that you have gained in your community work, in your volunteer work, to be able to position yourself for the job. So I would like to say that a lot of positions, we have management trainees, we have internship jobs being offered by organization, will give preference to people with no experience. And what happens at that level then is when you come to the interviews, demonstrate. It's a very competitive world. There are very few opportunities. Demonstrate that you're able to do the job. At entry levels, you'll find that organizations will be looking at, like we said, your communication, your attitude, just housekeeping. Have you been able to keep time? Do you know this organization that you're coming to work in? And I'd like to admit to you guys that we are in a community. Some places you may be forced to. There are many narratives that you'll find out there, but they're credible organizations, and most often they'll give you opportunities for where you are. If it's an entry job, they will look for that. So you need to position yourself as such. But I'll also want to tell you something, guys. You have to have a level of grit and a level of resilience. As you come into the workplace, sometimes you'll get a lot of no's or a lot of doors that are locked. Just push a little bit harder and knock a little bit many other times. So if you find one door is closed, don't give up. Push on to the next door, go for the next opportunity, and keep moving. So I've found people who get very discouraged on the first placement or the first job they look for. Keep knocking, I'm sure doors will open. And that is the narrative about life, that you have to keep pushing and the right door is gonna open. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jane. I think Achi is on my neck. We are almost exhausting our lunch hour, as you can see. So you will allow me to request that if the panelists are going to be around over lunch hour, please look for them, interrupt their lunch, ask your question, and I'm sure they will forgive me. So I beg your pardon, but please allow us to end that session at that point. Please give a round of applause to the panelists and to yourselves for a great session. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you. I think we all do. Another round of applause for the fabulous ladies. And to the moderator, Mr. Martin Mwebea. Wasn't that a good session? All right, thank you. I just wanted to give some housekeeping rules. We're running late. The next session starts at 2. All those guests are already here. So for now, this is the lunch arrangements. Can you hear me? Oh, too tall. Okay, Queer students, thank you for hosting us, but you will leave the room last, and you will be having your lunch outside the cafeteria on the grounds there. All the speakers, the partners, the moderators, and some photographers, please, you are upstairs in the cafeteria, go upstairs, and the rest of the guests into the cafeteria on the ground floor. Does that make sense? So the sort of VIPs, if I might call you that, upstairs in the cafeteria, the rest of our guests are on ground floor, and students, just let us all go out first, and you will be hosted outside the cafeteria. May I also say we acknowledge the presence of Kisii University, Chuka University, Strathmore, Daystar, Queer, of course, University of Nairobi, and KU. I know you're all in the house. I will be back at 2:20, so it's a really fast one. But thank you very much for those who asked questions. Thank you again to the panelists, and I will see you again at 2:20. Have a good afternoon, and a good lunch.